The year was 2025. It was early November, a time that became very important. During this week, something dangerous happened in Asia. It was a time when big countries faced a serious challenge. Japan had a new prime minister. Her name was Sanae Takaichi. She was the first woman to lead Japan. Prime Minister Takaichi made a speech. In this speech, she said some very strong words about Taiwan. Her words were surprising to many people around the world. They were also very shocking to one country in particular, China. China quickly showed its anger. Chinese officials spoke with fury. They said Japan's words were wrong and dangerous. This started a big problem, a diplomatic crisis. It was not a small argument. It was a serious disagreement between two very powerful nations in Asia. Japan and China are two of the biggest powers in Asia. They are very important for the world. This crisis pushed them very close to a real conflict. People worried about what might happen next. Would they find a way to peace, or would the situation get worse? This story will explain the events of that dangerous week. It will show how Prime Minister Takaichi's words created a huge problem. It will tell about China's strong response. This is a story about how close two big powers came to a serious fight, and how a diplomatic crisis unfolded in front of the world. 2. The words that started it all. It was Friday, November 7, in the year 2025. Japan's parliament, also known as the Diet, was in session. Inside, Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi stood before the lawmakers to answer a question from the opposition. The question focused on a very important legal term in Japan's defense policy, a survival-threatening situation. This term is central to Japan's security legislation, which was passed in 2015. Simply put, a survival-threatening situation means that an armed attack against a foreign country is so serious that it could directly threaten Japan's own survival as a nation. When such a situation is officially recognized, it allows Japan's government to deploy its self-defense forces, SDF, to take military action, even outside Japan. This legal condition is a very significant step for Japan, as its constitution limits military action. Prime Minister Takaichi then gave very clear and specific examples of what she considered a survival-threatening situation. She stated that if China were to use its warships and military force to fully take control of Taiwan, that specific action would certainly count. Her words made it plain that Japan might, in such a case, use its military to help Taiwan. She explained that any large-scale military operation by China in the Taiwan Strait aimed at bringing Taiwan entirely under Beijing's rule could lead to Japan's military involvement. She also added another critical scenario. If China's military were to attack United States naval vessels that might be sent to assist Taiwan, perhaps by breaking a naval blockade around the island, Japan could also see its survival threatened. This, too, could lead to Japan sending its forces into action. If it involves the use of warships and military actions, it could by all means become a survival-threatening situation, Prime Minister Takaichi firmly stated during the parliamentary hearing. She concluded by emphasizing that Japan must prepare for the worst-case scenario regarding the future of the Taiwan Strait. These were incredibly strong words, making Japan's position on Taiwan clearer than it had ever been before. Just a few days later, on Monday, November 10, other lawmakers in the parliament pressed Prime Minister Takaichi again. They asked her if she would take back or soften her statements, but she refused. Prime Minister Takaichi stood firm. She clearly stated that her remarks were fully in line with the Japanese government's established views and policies. She would not withdraw them. Her unwavering stance sent a powerful and unmistakable message, instantly raising diplomatic tensions to a new and dangerous level across the region. 3. The dragon's anger. Beijing reacted very quickly to Prime Minister Takaichi's words. China's response was strong and filled with anger. Chinese officials publicly stated that Takaichi's comments were wrongful and dangerous. They clearly believed that Japan was trying to separate Taiwan from China's territory. They also accused Japan of promoting military action in the Taiwan Strait. This forceful reaction showed how serious China viewed the situation, considering Taiwan an essential part of its own country. The diplomatic situation became even more tense on Saturday, November 8. Xu Jian, who was China's consul general in Osaka, Japan, posted a message online. This message appeared on the social media platform X. It referred to a news article about Prime Minister Takaichi's comments. The words Xu Jian used were very alarming and seen as a direct threat. He wrote, "We have no choice but cut off that dirty neck that has been lunged at us without hesitation. Are you ready?" Many people saw this message immediately. It caused a lot of worry and a serious diplomatic argument. The post was removed from X later, but it was too late. The threatening words had already been shared and seen by many. The damage to diplomatic relations was already done. This public statement from a Chinese diplomat created a huge problem between the two nations. China's foreign ministry also commented on Consul General Xu Jian's post. Lin Jian, a spokesperson, explained that Xu Jian's words were his own personal statement. Lin Jian said that the post was aimed at Japan's erroneous and dangerous remarks. These remarks, he stated, tried to separate Taiwan from China and suggested military action in the Taiwan Strait. Despite calling it a personal comment, Beijing's official position was also very harsh. Chinese officials sent solemn complaints and protests to Japan. The Chinese embassy in Tokyo added to the strong response. They issued statements saying that Japan had used survival-threatening language many times before in history. They reminded people of the 1931 Mukden incident, an event that Japan used as an excuse for military invasion. China used this historical link to suggest that Japan was repeating old ways of being aggressive and finding reasons for military action. This made the already high tension between China and Japan even worse. The dragon, China, was clearly showing its anger, and the world was watching. This swift and angry response marked a serious escalation in the crisis. 4. Japan fights back. Japan's government strongly disagreed with China's actions. The message posted by China's consul general in Osaka on social media was seen as very serious. Tokyo felt this kind of diplomatic message was new and unacceptable. On Monday, November 10, Japan took official steps. The Chief Cabinet Secretary, Minoru Kihara, announced that Japan formally protested to Beijing. Mr. Kihara clearly stated that the diplomat's social media post was extremely inappropriate. He added that such language from a government official was not proper. Japan's foreign ministry then sent a strong protest to the Chinese government. The ministry demanded that Beijing immediately take down the offensive social media post. It also asked China to provide a full explanation for the message and an apology. Mr. Kihara publicly urged China to give clear reasons for the post. At the same time, Japan also tried to reduce the tension. Tokyo made sure to tell Beijing that its main diplomatic approach had not changed. Japan repeated its long-standing support for the One China policy. This policy means Japan understands there is only one China. This effort aimed to show that Japan did not want the overall relationship to get worse, despite the protest. On Tuesday, November 11, Mr. Kihara provided more details. He explained that Tokyo had given Beijing a full response to China's earlier protests about Prime Minister Takaichi's comments. He confirmed Japan's continued belief in the One China principle. Most importantly, he stressed that peace and stability in the Taiwan Strait were crucial. These were vital not only for Japan's own safety, but also for the peace of countries worldwide. Japan stood firm on Prime Minister Takaichi's original statements, showing strength. However, it also used careful diplomacy to manage Beijing's strong anger, balancing a tough stance with a wish for regional calm. 5. A new leader for Japan. Sanai Takaichi stepped into history as Japan's first female prime minister in late October 2025. At 64 years old, she was known as a conservative politician, and her rise to power marked a significant moment for Japan. Her leadership promised a more assertive approach to the nation's foreign policy and its military strength. Many people saw Prime Minister Takaichi as a close student and political heir of the late Shinzo Abe. He was Japan's longest-serving prime minister, known for his push to strengthen the country's defense before he passed away in 2022. Like Abe, Takaichi strongly believed Japan needed a more capable and active military. She advocated for changing Japan's constitution to clearly allow for a full military, moving beyond the current self-defense force, which is technically limited to defense. She also favored a hawkish stance toward countries like China, meaning a tougher and more direct approach in diplomatic relations. Forming her government was not an easy process. The Komeito Party, which was a longtime partner of Takaichi's Liberal Democratic Party, decided to withdraw its support. They were concerned about her strong nationalistic and militaristic ideas for Japan's foreign policy. Komeito has a pacifist, peace-loving view that did not fit with Takaichi's defense plans. Because of this, Takaichi had to find a different group to work with. She successfully secured a new coalition agreement with the Ishin, or Innovation Party. This smaller, right-leaning political force shared more of her views on strengthening Japan's defense and taking a firmer stance internationally. Prime Minister Takaichi's early days in office showed her commitment to this new direction. Just before she made her important statements regarding Taiwan, she had a notable meeting. She met with President Donald Trump of the United States during his visit to Japan in late October 2025. President Trump publicly praised Takaichi, calling her one of the great prime ministers. He also clearly stated that the United States would stand by Japan as its strongest ally. This interaction highlighted Takaichi's focus on building a stronger, more confident Japan, ready to take decisive actions in its foreign policy and uphold its crucial alliances. Her vision for a renewed and powerful Japan was quickly becoming clear. 6. Why Taiwan is so important. Taiwan is a small island, but it is very important for many reasons. First, its location is key. Taiwan is only about 110 kilometers from Japanese land. This closeness means that what happens in Taiwan directly affects Japan's security. Japan worries about its own safety if there is trouble near its borders. The waters around Taiwan are also very important. This area is called the Taiwan Strait. Many ships travel through the Taiwan Strait every day. These ships carry goods for countries all over the world. For Japan, these shipping routes are vital. About 99% of Japan's trade depends on these sea lanes. If these routes are blocked, Japan's economy and many other economies will face big problems. Another big reason why Taiwan is important is its role in making computer chips. Taiwan makes most of the world's computer chips, called semiconductors. In 2024, Taiwan produced more than 60% of all chips globally. One company, TSMC, is the largest chip maker in the world. These chips are in almost everything we use today: smartphones, cars, computers, and advanced machines. If a conflict were to happen around Taiwan, the whole world's economy would suffer. The making of chips would stop or slow down. This would hurt many industries, from car factories to electronics companies. Japan, with its strong technology and car industries, would be especially hurt. It relies heavily on Taiwan for these important components. A conflict could stop Japan from getting the parts it needs, causing a lot of economic damage. The United States also plays a role in this. Japan and the United States have a strong security agreement. This means they promise to help each other if there is an attack. The U.S. has many soldiers and bases in Japan. President Donald Trump, during a visit to Japan in late October 2025, said that the United States would always be Japan's strongest ally. This alliance makes Taiwan's safety a matter for both countries. If Taiwan faces danger, both Japan and the U.S. could be involved. This shows just how important Taiwan is, not just for itself, but for global trade, technology, and peace in the region. 7. Looking deeper. Prime Minister Takaichi's statement was not a sudden change for Japan. It was a new, clearer step in how Japan thinks about its own safety. For many years, Japan's defense leaders have watched China's army grow stronger. Japan's 2025 defense report called China's military actions the biggest strategic challenge. China's warships are seen near Japan more often, showing China wants to grow its power far into the ocean. Japan had already started to prepare. It sent its destroyers through the Taiwan Strait several times, a clear message to China. Japan also put long-distance missiles on its southwestern islands. Former Prime Minister Shinzo Abe often said, "A Taiwan emergency is a Japan emergency." Takaichi built on this idea. She used Japan's defense laws to explain exactly when Japan would use its military. This gave a strong legal reason to her words. There were signs Japan talked with the United States. Prime Minister Takaichi met President Donald Trump in late October 2025, just before her public statements. President Trump praised Takaichi, saying the United States would stand by Japan as its strongest ally. This meeting might show Japan and the U.S. shared their plans. China reacted strongly due to its important goals at home. President Xi Jinping wants to unite Taiwan with mainland China, calling this the China Dream. U.S. intelligence believes President Xi told China's army to be ready for a takeover of Taiwan by 2027. Japan's statements about helping Taiwan directly challenged this big goal, making Beijing very angry. Both Japan and China use history when they argue. China says Japan uses words like survival-threatening situation to start wars, pointing to the 1931 Mukden incident. China wants people to remember that Japan ruled Taiwan for 50 years, from 1895 to 1945. China believes Taiwan is an internal Chinese matter. Using these past events makes the situation even more difficult. The old way of being unclear about Taiwan is now fading. This was known as strategic ambiguity. For many years, countries like Japan and the U.S. did not say exactly what they would do if China attacked Taiwan. This was a way to keep the peace. But now, Takaichi's words are very clear. She explained the specific legal reasons for Japan to act. This makes Japan's position very open and leaves little room for doubt. The United States has also slowly become more open about its support for Taiwan. Japan, under Takaichi, seems to be doing the same. By being clear about what it would do, Japan hopes to stop China from making mistakes. It also means that if China takes military action against Taiwan, the cost would be much higher. This new, clear stand from Japan is a big change from the past, moving toward a more direct approach in a dangerous region. 8. What happens next? This week in early November 2025 was a very important time for East Asia. Prime Minister Sanai Takaichi's statements about Taiwan started a big diplomatic problem. For many years, Japan was not clear about what it would do if China used military force against Taiwan. This was called strategic ambiguity. But now Takaichi's words changed that. She made Japan's position much clearer, saying Japan might use its military if a situation in Taiwan threatened Japan's own survival. This marked a new and serious step in Japan's security plans, moving away from past uncertainty. China reacted very strongly and quickly. Chinese officials said Takaichi's remarks were wrongful and dangerous. A Chinese diplomat in Osaka even posted a threatening message on social media, talking about cutting off a dirty neck. Though the post was deleted later, it showed how serious and sensitive the issue of Taiwan is for China. China believes Taiwan is an important part of its country and wants no other nation to interfere. This event highlights that peace in East Asia is becoming more fragile. Countries like Japan and China are now speaking more openly about their red lines, things they will not let happen. When these important lines are stated publicly and then seem to be crossed, it creates more tension and risk in the region. The old way of being unclear about actions is now fading, making future conflicts potentially more direct. The United States also plays a big role in this situation. Just before this crisis, President Donald Trump visited Japan. He praised Prime Minister Takaichi, calling her one of the great prime ministers, and promised that the U.S. would be Japan's strongest ally. This shows the very strong ties and security alliance between Japan and the U.S. Takaichi's clear words might also be Japan's way of ensuring the U.S. remains committed to defending the region. Japan is already working to strengthen its own military and is thinking more about its national defense. The crisis also brings to light Taiwan's very important role in the global economy, especially for making computer chips. A conflict there would cause big problems for many industries around the world, including those in Japan. This significant week changed how Japan talks about its role in the region, and showed the world how serious the situation between Japan and China can become. Everyone is now watching closely to see what happens next in East Asia. What do you think will be the biggest challenge for keeping peace in East Asia after this week?
Hey there! Just a second before you go. If you learned something new today, please give this video a like, write your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to the channel. It only takes a second, and it really, really helps to create even better English videos for you. Your support means the world. Thank you.